I know you know. You've seen it, experienced it, affected by it. Of course, it's hard. But this is an invitation to change it, to bounce back, to feel the inspiration. Masyado ka nang apektado para tumigil pa. Ngayon, oras na para sa mas mataas na antas ng pagbabalik at pagbabago. The hashtag Business Better Than Usual. Oo naman, aangat ka, aangat tayo. Buong Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Kaisa sa pagbangon at pagbabago. The 58th PMAP Annual Conference. Angat, leading people to higher ground. Be the soul of change. Be the driver of encouragement. Be the fuel of moving forward. Angat, leading people to higher ground. The 58th PMAP Annual Conference. Dahil mas personal na ang trabaho ngayon.
How do we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more?
It starts with one.
One employee.
One developer.
One organization.
From one employee to a team collaborating with another team.
From one organization to their customers, to their customers' customers.
Helping local communities, creating jobs, increasing productivity for the global economy.
Our society.
Our world.
That's the impact.
That's the impact.
That's the impact each of us can have.
That's our opportunity.
100,000 plus employees.
75 million organizations.
7 billion people on the planet.
100 to 75 to 7.
To make every small business more productive.
To make every large business more competitive.
To make nonprofits more effective.
To make government institutions more responsive.
To expand access to education.
To improve healthcare outcomes. And to amplify human ingenuity.
When we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, we empower the world.
Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Good afternoon, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and to all our viewers wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Welcome to People Manager on Cam, the online show of the People Management Association of the Philippines, the premier organization of HR and business leaders in the country. Ang bilis ng panahon, March na, and that's it. So this is now our third episode for 2021 of People Manager on Cam. Thank you so much for watching. This episode is sponsored by Microsoft Philippines, and we are going to talk about very critical topics that all HR business leaders should be aware of. My name is Joanna Cetre. I am the Managing Director of LHH Philippines, one of the Board of Trustees of PMAP, and I am your anchor for today. This show is for 1 hour until 3 p.m., and we have 4 segments following the acronym PMAP. P is for People Watch, where we will highlight our peers, colleagues, the leaders in HR and business, promising or upcoming talents and leaders in the community. M is for Must, the second segment. It enables us to keep abreast with the must in life, helping us not to miss on the current issues affecting our daily lives. And A, which is sponsored by Microsoft Philippines, is for Anticipate This. Things, ideas, innovation, or discoveries that we all need to look forward to. And thank you so much again to Microsoft for being our partners this month. P is for Prick Your Heart. Be excited with lifestyle tips, health and wellness, or leisure and hobbies. I want to acknowledge and introduce the committee and the people behind this online program. Friends, PMAP's branding, marketing, and communications committee members are Jove Bataican, our editor-in-chief of the People Manager magazine, and of course, our segment hosts for today are coming from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. We also have our technical team working behind us is Maki Cordero, Jeffrey Palma, and Sarah Neguas. Let's get to our first segment, People Watch. We will have a glimpse on COPA and a very significant project that the COPA is focusing on. COPA is the Council of Presidential Advisors for People Management Association of the Philippines. We will learn more about them. For this segment, I welcome our segment host, the founder of Movimentum Leadership and Management Consultancy, coach of Baharaya Coaching, associate consultant of Interview Consultancy, and partner consultant for Infosoft Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, I pass you over to Jacqueline Louie.
We have our guest this afternoon, Attorney JBJ, and I would like to introduce to you. Attorney Josephus B. Jimenez is a well-experienced HR executive with 25 years combined experience in San Miguel Corporation, Petron or PNOC Group of Companies, Pepsi Cola, Elizalde Group, and Atlas Mining in both specialist, employee and labor relations, and total generalist as total HR VP. He has 20 years experience in government, in the judiciary, as well as in DOLE, NLRC, BLR, and NCMB as conciliator, mediator, arbitrator, labor arbiter, and DOLE undersecretary. Hello, Attorney JBJ. Good afternoon po.
Yeah, good afternoon and greetings to all the PMAP members all over the world and in the Philippines.
Thank you po. So we are so honored to have you as our guest this afternoon for the People Watch. On our segment, we are featuring COPA. Can you tell us what COPA is all about and what is the role and the members of COPA?
Yeah, COPA is the organization composed of former president of PMAP. And if you can see the screen now, can you see the screen?
Yes, Attorney.
COPA is an advisor to the incumbent PMAP leadership. Every year we change president, ExCom, and board of trustees. So there's a need that something should be all there all the time to guide the new officers along our vision and mission as PMAP organization.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Attorney. Okay, so can you also share with us the innovation projects of COPA for this year?
Well, when we talk of innovation, perhaps the most revolutionary and the most earth-shaking initiative that PMAP can undertake is to lead and be a part of the movement to overhaul the labor code of the Philippines, which is already 43 years old, and it was promulgated by a constitutional dictator under a regime of martial law. That's why in the labor code, there are many interventions by government in the exercise of management prerogative of hiring, firing, transferring, promoting, and all this. So our hands are tied. We cannot compete in the global arena because government is very dominant in the relationship between employees and employer.
Yeah, you mentioned, thank you, Attorney. This is indeed earth-shaking. And as you mentioned, it is revolutionary. So I completely agree with you on this. As you mentioned, we need to be competitive. What particular issues that you are seeing, for example, that should help Philippines become competitive in relation to this?
The issue of uh, levels of productivity vis-a-vis the cost of labor. Because among the 10 ASEAN countries, namely Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, and Brunei, the Philippines used to be number 3. Then we slide down to number 4, then number 5. As of today, we are number 6. In other words, the number 1 is Singapore, number 2 is Malaysia, number 3 is Indonesia, number 4 is Thailand. Number 5 now is Vietnam. We used to be number 5, no, for the longest time. When I was president of PMAP in 2014, we were number 5, but now we are number 6 because Vietnam has overtaken us.
Okay, so thank you very much, Attorney. So what do you think will be the role of PMAP and COPA on this?
PMAP should be active in the forefront in the hearings before the House of Representatives.
On that note, how can we support the projects of COPA?
Well, to support the project of COPA, members of PMAP who represent company must consult their principals and give inputs. What innovations, what changes do you want to introduce? Because as of today, we want to look at the role of government. For instance, we want to minimize these inspections by the DOLE because, you know, there is harmony in the workplace, and then here comes the DOLE representative and interviewing 1 or 2 people, and then come up with an order for the principal employer to absorb all the employees of the agency. That is killing us in the area of competitiveness in the global arena and even in the ASEAN region. We are now lagging behind.
So what are your message or messages that you would like to share with all of us?
My message is this. If you are in HR, you should look at the HR diamond. Can you see the HR diamond? Diamond is the work of HR can be classified into 4. Talent acquisition is bringing in the talent, attract, retain, motivate, and empower. And then when you empower, you deploy. And then total rewards now replaces the name compensation and benefits. And then learning and development instead of merely training people. And we have the newest, instead of employer relations, labor relations, or industrial relations, we have the organizational justice. And I have founded a movement for organizational justice with past President Freddy Marquez. And we have followers. And our pillar of advancement is the overhaul of the Labor Code of the Philippines. I am calling on you, HR, to join us in this movement because this is the time to change and be aligned with the rest of the world, and we will improve our competitive advantage in the ASEAN region, and we will be treated with dignity and honor in the global arena.
Okay, thank you very much, Attorney JBJ. Indeed, this is really earth-shaking, and we are very honored of your presence this afternoon. So thank you, and back to you, Trustee Joe.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and of course, Attorney JBJ, for that very important issue, making sure that our policies and legislation is responsive to the current time. Jackie, from that discussion, how can the HR and business leaders support this cause of the PMAP's Council of Presidential Advisors, or PMAP's COPA, on the labor code? What can you say about that?
Yeah, thank you, Trusty Joe. First is I fully resonate well with what Attorney JBJ had said, that Philippines' competitiveness is of prime importance. On the question is, I think for us the most realistic is to read, understand the labor code, and from there we will be able to see what are those things that, or the articles or laws that we would like to eliminate, or we would like it to be revised or corrected, and let us submit our proposals to the proponent, and that's Attorney JBJ. So I think that's the most realistic one, Trustee Joe.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And having this awareness, understanding of the labor code is not just an HR function. That should be
Correct.
every leader's function, whether government or we are working in the private sector. That is everybody's responsibility. Especially, we say that people are our most important asset. So thank you so much, Jackie. We talk about innovation, competition, productivity, and we all have to do our share to make sure that our policies, that the system supports this. To our
Yes.
viewers, let us know your questions or comments through the comment box. Feel free to send in if you have any questions or comments that you would like us to discuss or ask with our guest. This time, we will go to our next segment. Thank you so much, Jackie. This time, we will go to our next segment, The Must, where we will talk about sustainable recovery in the Philippines, another very serious topic that all of us should be concerned about. To lead us in the discussion, I introduce our next segment host. The president of Zilber Band Incorporated, a software development company in Davao City. Over to you, Mr. Roland Suico.
We are joined by one of the Iho Resources executive who is also a marine and freshwater biologist and the board member of the Tourism Congress of the Philippines, being the vice president of Mindanao, an entrepreneur who owns various companies, the Cebu Plant Company Garden Center, the Nemo Brew Cafe and Restaurant, and the ALMN Prime Property Ventures Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Mr. Harry Morris.
Hi, Roland. Thank you for your introduction. Very nice to be invited here today.
Yes, hi, Harry. It's really a pleasure also to have you in our show. So today, we will talk about sustainable recovery in the Philippines. Now, first, can you tell us your thoughts on how the Philippines now, in terms of environmental sustainability, considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has changed the different landscapes in our country?
I would say that there was a few good things that came out of it. Obviously, the lack of tourism benefited nature. So some areas were able to recover. Bird populations were able to come back to some of the tourism islands. There was more fish populations, etc. But on the other side, there were a lot of detrimental effects. So during Philippines recovery plan, we have to take into account all of the negative sort of aspects of what happened through COVID. It has to be fixed before we get back on track to pre-COVID situations.
Now, we have learned also, Harry, that you have projects that are aligned in sustaining the vision of your organization. Can you share with us, and how does it impact your business sustainability, perhaps in some of your stakeholders, particularly the community that you are serving?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to share. So the first thing to understand is the mindset shift that needs to take place. It's quite difficult for people these days to make up their own minds, because they're getting information from all sources from everywhere. If you look at how social media portrays the world, you have trends. Most of the information that is gathered by young people nowadays is from social media. So whatever social media says or whatever is trending, people will mostly follow. So the mindset that has to be changed is sustainability is not just about environmental sustainability. It's also about economic and social. Now, without addressing all three at the same time, it's kind of like having a stool with three legs. If you remove one of them, it's no longer able to support itself. That's where you have to actually look at the environment that you're in and understand what sort of what aspects make up my environment. So what is the main economy? What is the environment that we live in? What is the demographic? Who are the people that live there? And how do I tie all of this in together so that it becomes a well-oiled machine?
Now, how do we encourage now our business owners who are listening to us in having this corporate sustainability plan? Because this has always a financial implications also on the organization.
It does, but that's where the mindset switch comes in. Most businesses look at the ROI of about 5 years to 10 years, et cetera. But what we can do now is look beyond the lifespan of the company, look beyond the lifespan of a person, try and put together a model where your business will still be up and running and operational for 3 generations, for example. So that's about 150 years, 200 years. Think of it that way. Because if you only think of the lifespan, then you don't look at what the impact of your activities will have down the line. Like the producers of plastic, they never thought that the plastic, they didn't think about it, but they didn't see that it would come so soon that plastic would start, instead of just being used for wrapping and recycled, it's just discarded and it never breaks down. They only looked at one aspect, that it's a durable, light, cheap form of packaging, but it doesn't break down in the environment. And now the 3 or 4 generations down the line, we have oceans and rivers full of plastic. So that kind of thinking. Think about how you can, whether your business activities has a full circle. So whatever your product is it truly sustainable in those 3 legs, economical, environmental, and social? Does it benefit community or the local economy, and as well as the macro economy, the local people as well as the larger population, and your local environment as well as the environment, the larger environment around you? Think of those, and I think the solutions will come. It's hard to give like a easy answer to this because every business is different.
Yeah.
But if you change your mindset from the start and try and think of your business model, the financial aspects, of course, will come into play. But if you expand your ROI or your the lifespan of your business from the start, you'll find that those returns will come back, and then there is no negative impact later on. Because it's cause and effect, Roland. If you do something, there's an effect, right? You can either make it positive or negative. And if you're the one who is not dealing with the consequences, someone else will have to. Like whether it's tomorrow, whether it's 10 years or 20 years, it will eventually land in someone else's lap.
Yeah, that's right. So it's all mindset. No, we have to do it the very first time, and then eventually everything will just follow. That was fun, Harry. Now, as we end this session, now please give your final message to our viewers on how we can personally contribute to taking care of our environment.
Specifically to the environment, I think the best. Well, it's difficult now. Okay, I understand the whole pandemic situation is hard. So the easiest way to think of it is your management of your waste. Just don't be wasteful, really. Just don't throw away stuff. Obviously, try and help with your work with your LGU so that the trash is put where it's supposed to be. You're not wasteful with food at home. Like I said, because of the COVID situation, you just have to try and get by travel-wise. But just try and do small things. Try and be more efficient with your use of water, for example, your use of electricity, your use of plastics. Actually, there are more solutions now to plastic, so it's quite easy to make that shift. And then we can have this conversation again when COVID is sort of not so much of a big factor. And then I can give you a longer list of how to be more sustainable.
Yeah, that's wonderful. No? Thank you so much, Mr. Harry Morris, for giving us a highly informative session in a short period of time. We look forward to having you in our future discussions.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Roland.
Yeah, and that's it for Mask segment. Back to you, Miss Joanne.
Thank you so much, Roland, and of course, thank you, Harry. That is a very important issue as well. Wow, this is an afternoon that is full of a lot of discussions that I hope that we will be able to invite them again and have long-term discussions or a much longer discussion with Attorney JBJ on the labor law, and of course with Harry as well. I liked what Harry said about sustainability is also economic and social, and we have to change our mindsets and we have to think long-term. Thank you so much for those messages. We are now moving on. Time is moving on so fast. We are now in our third segment, Anticipate This. At this time, we will move on to technological innovations that support a post-pandemic workplace. I am so honored. Of course, we have our sponsor, Microsoft Philippines. And to lead our discussion, I will pass you to our next segment host, the Chief Learning Officer of Headway EduTech, Lawrence Go. Lawrence, over to you.
Thank you, Trusty Joanne, and good afternoon, everyone, to People Manager on Cam's Anticipate This segment. Where we talk about upcoming events, products, or solutions that we know will excite you, our friends in the people management profession. This afternoon, as Trusted Joanne mentioned, our topic is technological innovations that support a post-pandemic workplace. Sure that we can all still remember the second quarter of 2020. That was the period when people managers around the world realized that the pandemic is going to stay for the long haul, and that remote engagement and communication will both be critical factors for the survival of almost all organizations. And during that stretch, we've seen a lot of solutions aimed at making the work from home transition a bit easier, if not a bit enjoyable, not only for us, but also definitely for the rest of the workforce. And one of those tech solutions provider, perhaps the biggest, most well-known, and most reputable, not only for enterprise, but also for consumer solutions, given that I am actually using their products across multiple devices at home and at work right now, is our guest this afternoon. Joining us today here on Anticipate This is the Modern Work and Security Business Lead at Microsoft Philippines, Mr. Yvette Watson. Good afternoon, Yvette.
Good afternoon, Lawrence, and thank you so much to the People Management Association of the Philippines for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Likewise, Yvette. So I think my first question would be to first ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Lawrence. Thank you for asking. It's a good thing that we always start off meetings today with that, in this whole situation. And how are you, Lawrence?
I'm good. I'm very excited to hear more about Microsoft and how Microsoft really stood out during this stretch of the pandemic. So it's actually good to also hear that you're doing well. So before we actually start diving into our topic, which is technological innovations that support the post-pandemic workplace, could you kindly give us or give our viewers a brief background of what Microsoft does as an organization?
Sure. Yes, so Microsoft is as a global software company. Some of you may be familiar with some of our products. You're using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Microsoft Office. You may be joining in right now using your laptops running Windows. But beyond that, no, we're a cloud company. We have a lot of solutions cutting across the cloud, from business applications, cloud solutions, and productivity and collaboration as well.
Got it. And based on also my introduction earlier, we've seen how critical engagement and communication are to the success of organizations during this pandemic. Now, given also Microsoft's stature, how did Microsoft, as a leader in technology, adapted to these particular needs of organizations?
No, we couldn't agree more. Employee engagement, communication has always been fundamental, but in these days, absolutely critical, right? We invest to deliver in an annual report called the Microsoft Work Trend Index, and the 2020 and 2021 reports are unlike any year prior. Our 2020 report showed that nearly 60% of people feel less connected to their team after shifting to remote work. Engagement is key, and it has to start at the top, right? Our Chief People Officer, Kathleen Hogan, lands this very strong point. At Microsoft, engaging employees in ongoing conversation is one of our keys to success. Two-way dialogue has been a big driver in Microsoft's cultural transformation. You may recall that we are a 46-year-old company. We went through some of the biggest global shifts and thankfully still afloat, right? At one point, I remember the market's message was clear. Microsoft was about to meet its doom, living on Windows and Office licensing in a fast-moving, internet-driven world. And the culture within Microsoft was pretty much tooth and nail. And to be able to steer this huge global shift, that shift to a new direction and change its whole culture was quite a feat. We were about 100,000 employees across the globe. And changing the culture was our CEO's top priority, incorporating a growth mindset and challenger mindset. And employee engagement and communication was key to make that happen. So definitely, we understand its importance for sure. And we built our solutions and tools with the holistic experience in mind, not just bits and pieces of the requirement, right? A holistic experience with our platform, Microsoft 365.
Got it. And it's a good thing that you mentioned about culture because I can still remember leading to the I'd say Q3, Q4. There were a lot of conversations in management that talks about culture. How can we retain culture, or how can we even improve culture? And of course, technology solutions would be one of the biggest things, buzzwords even during those particular moments. And
Exactly.
speaking again of tech solutions, there were a lot of tech solutions that went to market during the first few quarters of the pandemic. And I can still remember MS Teams being one of the biggest. Now, were there other factors that Microsoft realized organizations should also focus on to thrive during this period of wide-scale remote working?
Well, yeah, Microsoft Teams was born just timely before the pandemic. In fact, this month we celebrated its fourth birthday. But we definitely hit a surge, right, of usage as we entered into this pandemic. We have 115 million daily active users and over 2.7 billion minute meetings delivered. Now, our work trend index report for 2021 shows us, 7 key hybrid work trends in 2021 that we believe every business leader needs to know. But let me share maybe three of those trends. No, so first trend, leaders apparently are out of touch with employees and today need a wake up call. Our research suggests most business leaders are faring better than their employees. 61% of leaders are saying that they're thriving right now, 23 points higher than those without decision making authority. They also report stronger relationships with colleagues, that's 11 points higher, and relationships with leadership, 19 points higher, and a higher likelihood of taking all or more than their allotted vacation days. Business leaders surveyed were also more likely to be millennials or Gen X male information workers and farther along in their careers. In contrast, Gen Z, women, frontline workers, and those new to their careers reported struggling the most over the past year. The workers feel disconnected. 37% of the global workforce says their companies are asking too much of them at such a difficult time. The second trend we're seeing is that high productivity is actually masking an exhausted workforce. Self-assessed productivity has remained the same or higher for many employees over the past year, but at a human cost. Nearly 1 in 5 global survey respondents say that their employer doesn't care about their work-life balance. 54% feel overworked, 39% feel exhausted. And the trillions of productivity signals from our solutions from Microsoft 365 quantify the precise digital exhaustion workers are actually feeling right now. So it's very important that we think about this. How are we thinking about employee burnout? And then the third trend we're seeing is that shrinking networks are endangering innovation. The pandemic-driven, isolation people feel in their personal lives is also happening at work. Anonymized collaboration trends between a lot of our solutions reveal a very clear trend. The shift to remote work shrunk our network significantly. At the onset of the pandemic, our analysis shows interactions with our close networks at work increased, while the interactions with our distant network actually diminished. This suggests that as we shifted into lockdown, we clung to our immediate teams for support and let our broader network fall to the wayside. Simply put, companies became more siloed and than they were pre-pandemic. Diba? We know this is a problem. So how are you fostering communities now that in this hybrid workplace, and now that we're in GCQ, we're in a fully virtual environment is very, very important.
Thank you for sharing those insights, Yvette. And it really helps to see the numbers. And I'm inclined to say that I'm not surprised about the numbers, especially given the concerns that we've been hearing from the frontliners and even the middle managers. So it really helps to have that certain level of validation, and especially coming from Microsoft as a source. So it really is a reputable way of validating those concerns. Now, those three things that you mentioned earlier, given those identified challenges that you've mentioned, would you be able to share with us some of the other solutions in Microsoft's pipeline that plan to address those said challenges?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we shared a lot of these challenges now, but at the same time, leaders have an opportunity, right? Taken together, these trends show that we are no longer bound to traditional notions of space and time when it comes to how, when, and where we work. It's time to set aside our long held assumptions that dictate that people need to work in the same place at the same time to be productive and have impact. It's a big mental shift, one that will require leaders and organizations to fundamentally re examine and rewire their operating model. Shaking off the confines of the 20th century thinking will not come easily. We fully acknowledge that, right? But we've identified a few strategies for business leaders to begin to make that shift, right? And it starts with embracing extreme flexibility. Every organization will need a plan that puts people at the center and encompasses policy, physical space, and technology, right? And that's why it's important. And that's why I'm talking to this audience right now, because we fundamentally believe in your role in making this happen. It starts with answering the critical questions. How are people doing, and what do they need to deliver on their jobs? Who will be able to work remotely? Who will need to come into the office, and for what amount of time? When people do focused work, and where will they do it? And what about collaborative work? In a world where ongoing disruption is part of the new normal, leaders need to be prepared to respond to these sudden changes, right? Then we need to invest, right? Invest in space and technology to bridge the physical and digital worlds. Most organizations will require a mix of collaboration, meeting, and then focus spaces, in addition to spaces that encourage informal social interactions, right? Gail Motry, Vice President of Workplace Innovation at Steelcase, says that companies' research shows that second only to proper safety measures, workers actually expect a post pandemic office to be a compelling and energetic space that creates a sense of community that we really don't get when we're working from home, diba? Many companies will also need space set aside still for focused work. Now, if workers can't get both of these things by commuting into the office, think about our traffic here in the Philippines, especially, diba? There's going to be a gravitational pull to want to work back at home, right? Because on the surface, it just seems easier. And then finally, rethink your employee experience to compete for the best and most diverse talent. More digital work and the stress of living through a pandemic has left many employees feeling overworked and disconnected. With some groups suffering more than others, it will be very important for you, the HR leaders, to consider how wellness programs and work policies affect each group uniquely. For instance, policies such as wellness days on top of vacation and sick time can normalize taking off. Other examples include investments in increased access to therapy, especially for essential workers who are on the front lines of this pandemic, as well as subsidized daycare for working parents and flexible schedules for all. And as we shift to hybrid, the need for an employee experience platform that brings these together, well being, knowledge, engagement, and learning together in a digital world is critical. Hence, when we thought about it, we realized that's where we needed to make an investment. And that this is why we built a new category of software altogether, which is our employee experience platform called Microsoft Viva.
That's great to hear. Employee experience platform. So I can really confirm that the things that you've mentioned, that there's a certain level of sense of community that taken away from our team members, especially from the frontliners, who was they're really used to commuting, going to work, and having to talk to a lot of people, mingling and having interactions, and all of those gone suddenly. There are, of course, definitely benefits of working from home, but of course, also a lot of factors that makes work from home really a burden, especially to those that are currently in under GCQ. I think it's called NCR Plus right now. So, can you tell us more about this particular line of new product, especially the importance of Microsoft Viva from the perspective of Microsoft in really delivering this new employee experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lauren. So let me not talk through it and just show you instead, right?
Sure,
So
definitely.
perfect. So let me know if you see my screen.
I can.
Great, thanks. Yes, so first off, if you have yet to meet Microsoft Teams, for those in this call, right, Microsoft Teams is our hub for teamwork. It's where we do everything from chat, collaboration, co-authoring, sharing files, all the way to video conferencing and integrating our line of business apps as well. But beyond that, and this is where Microsoft Viva comes in, is where we actually want to bring together these aspects that I mentioned earlier, right, around building connections, learning, insights into the platform with Microsoft Viva. So the experience working with Microsoft Viva will be front and center within Microsoft Teams, right? So jumping into this demo, here I am in Connections, which is part of Microsoft Viva, which is a gateway to the modern employee experience for this. In this case, we're gonna call this company Relic Cloud, no? So connecting Relic Cloud employees to their company's culture and communications wherever they work. So it's a single space, right? From right inside Teams, whether you're on your desktop, you're on the web, as well as on mobile, right? So it's great because then it's curated content as well. So there's a personalized feed of news and conversations. You can keep up with important announcements from from your company and your teams, and join in valuable conversations with people across the organization. Hence the name Connection, right? The feed uses content and signals from the Microsoft Graph to make it personalized and relevant to you, right? So we are accustomed to setting up intranets that tend to be a bit static at times, right? And when you have a really large organization, sometimes some of those announcements may not be relevant to you. And the beauty of Connections is that your organization can target communications and featured conversations to make sure that the right information gets to the right people wherever they work. In addition to the personalized feed of news and conversation, Connections gives you a very personalized dashboard, as you can see here. Your dashboard is a single destination for all the helpful company resources, across HR even, tools you need as an employee, such as health checks, time off requests, and other processes, right? And resources for well-being as well as resources for learning. Now, Connections builds on a lot of our existing capabilities, right? It can integrate apps from across your digital workplace. You can brand the experience to your company's logo and name to foster a sense of shared identity. And you can tailor the experience for every role, from frontline workers to executives. So you can deliver a streamlined and personalized experience to communicate and engage people wherever they work with Connections, right? Now, Insights, which is another component of Microsoft Viva, provides privacy protected insights and actionable recommendations that help everyone in the work organization, be able to work smarter and achieve balance, right? And maybe just a short recap. Last month, right, in February 2021, we made an initial set of personal insights available in public preview to help existing users of Teams strengthen relationships and protect time for focused work. Now, with so many of us working remotely, we're missing the opportunities, the lunches, the hallway conversations, in the office present that the office presented to catch up and informally have a chat with colleagues. And with so many communications going virtual, distributed across emails, chats, shared files, it can be hard to keep track of important tasks as well, right, that require follow up. So this stay connected experience will intelligently surface prior communications. I am personally guilty on depending on this. So when I have a bunch of meetings set up for the day, at the start of the day, it'll actually send me a reminder of some of the things that I committed over email or via chat that I'll do this, I'll do that. And I have a meeting with that person again today, and it gives me a very good reminder via email. The protect time experience to me is my personal favorite, right? It makes it easy to schedule focus time because nowadays, especially that we're totally virtual, we have a tendency to fill up our calendar with meetings, right? No, I'm available from 2 to 3 and then next 3 to 4. And then you realize after every single meeting, you have tasks, right? You have to do's to deliver after those. And without focus time, when are you going to do it? After working hours? Definitely not the best way to do it, right? And so we have an ability here to help you automatically book time, right? So, and I personally am a big fan of this because without this automatically booking focus time, it gets tricky to find time to actually deliver on work, right? Now, beginning April of this year, we're going to have more updates, right? We're going to bring more personal well-being experiences to provide much needed structure for a remote work day. As an example, with the rise in remote work, many of us are missing the structure of commutes, right? So to be able to set up that commute, virtual commute time to be able to relax, to be able to prepare for a big presentation, now you're going to have a tool that can help you deliver on that as well, right? So let me just make sure this is progressing because I think, oh, here we go. Right. Sorry, I think, there you go. All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, the joys of live sessions. There you go. Now, I think what will be very exciting for the folks in this call is really for me insights, especially the manager insights, right? So for manager insights available available within Microsoft Viva provides visibility into work patterns. Take note, this is privacy intact, which means managers won't be able to see very specific people, right? So privacy is very important to us. But it gives managers insights into work patterns that can lead to burnout and stress, such as working after working hours, meeting overload, or maybe too little focus time. For instance, in the screenshot you see here, you can see that well over half of this team consistently works after hours. Now, this is pretty high when you look at the average of the organization. Elevated levels of after hours work can erode well-being, reduce productivity, and eventually lead to burnout and attrition. Diba? Now, we work with a lot of we work with research firms, so we make sure that we pull in only data-driven best practices and we incorporate them within our products, right? So some of the tangible best practices are actually here. And you can easily launch flexible programs, right? Designed to help your teams collaborate more effectively as we put in those insights and those ideas right within the product. And for organization leaders, right? Another portion here is the organizational insights. So you have personal insights, managerial insights, as well as organizational insights. And this gives you a whole view of your organization. For example, you see here, you can see that only 37% of teams across the business have strong cohesion, meaning that a lot of employees are at a risk of isolation. And then we put in best practices again. So we're no longer just thinking about delivering on the technical experience, but actually bringing you tangible advice, right? Provides visibility into the factors that impact several outcomes, employee engagement, agility, and the capacity to move quickly, right? So our intent is that with these insights, your organization will be able to work faster. And these insights are all available to you as an organization as well. Third thing is around knowledge, right? You remember the time you joined an organization and you hear all these buzzwords and you are super confused, right? it was easier when when we were in the office because you just tag the person right next to you and say, hey, what's project SOAR mean, right? And then you can get insights and answers from there. But now you don't have that. So how do you ensure that knowledge and expertise is still surfaced to your employees in the context of where they are, right? And so what I want to show you here is a very good example of how we're incorporating Viva topics inside our solution. So take this note. I'm right within our team. I'm in the marketing channel. I can see here there was a weekly update, and somebody mentions Project SOAR. Now, I have no idea. I'm just new to the organization. I don't know what SOAR is. But what I can do is I can hover right on top of it. And thanks to Viva Topics, powered by AI, it actually pulls information from different sources across the organization, SharePoint portals, files that are publicly available within the organization, and automatically creates content and topic cards, if you will. So now Project SOAR, because of how often it's been used across the organization, has its own topic card. Now, if I wanted to click on it, okay, now I know what SOAR means. Apparently, it's a sustainable and operations and reliability project, right? And there are suggestions, who are the SMEs or the subject matter experts regarding this topic. And now I can reach out to the right people. This is when it was everything in the office was much easier because, well, we could reach out to people, maybe walk around in the office and just ask, what does Project SOAR mean? But when they're incorporated within your product, within the solutions you're already working, then it becomes just so much easier, right? And then, of course, for administrators, you can manage the content, you can update these topics as they go. Finally, fourth component of Microsoft Viva is around learning. Learning and skilling is very, very important if we want to keep our organization agile to be able to respond to fast changes, right? And so what we did is we incorporated the ability to pull in learning sources right within Microsoft Teams as well. So for example, I go into this team here, I click Add Tab, and I want to say to this team, I want to put in some resources here for you for your training, right? So I click this, I select Viva Learning as a tab. I type in learning over here, and then I select courses related to, to the intent I want to drive in terms of learning, right? So I choose this specific sustainability and leadership training, hit save, and then it sets it up as a tab. Now notice, same place where we're having a conversation about SOAR, where files are also shared, where our notebook is also sitting, can I also pull the learning content so that now from a team's perspective, I am not confused where is what, right? I can easily find content. Now I can just specifically say, for very specific courses, as you see here, right? I can decide if I wanted to assign them. If you have subscriptions as a company to the likes of LinkedIn Learning, EDX, Coursera, you can surface their content here as well, right? And then set that up. And now from my perspective as a user, if you look at the left-hand rail here, here's my chat. Here are my team spaces. Here's my calendar and my files. And my learning resources are also accessible to me right within the same portal with Microsoft Teams. And I can see my learning. I can see what has been assigned to me. I can see content across Coursera, EDX, etc. And even content like, for example, from Microsoft as well, right? Now, in this case, notice a course has actually been assigned to me, as you can see here, assigned by Naomi. Now, what I can do is I can start on that content and take the course right within, again, Microsoft Teams, right? Finally, one thing I want to highlight here is right within the context of a conversation. Hey, I really recommend this training content from you, from our HR, from our LMS solution. And what I can do is, if you notice, generally we're used to doing like insert GIFs or insert stickers or insert emojis in the context of our chat, right? Here I can say insert and insert a course from learning. Diba? So I can again search for that course, hit insert, and then send right within the chat. Diba? So those are just, that was a quick breeze through of some of the capabilities of Microsoft Viva. I hope it gave you a sense of what we have to offer, and yeah, definitely more to come.
Yeah, these are all very interesting because the two of the organizations that I'm working with are using MS Teams, and compared to, I'd say, the competition in terms of functionalities, there are already a lot of functionalities at MS Teams that the teams are able to integrate it with calendars, with Outlook, and be able to save files, have particular channels, and seeing these additional functionalities with MS Viva. I can say, as an HR leader myself, I can say that this is definitely one of the things that's worth anticipating in terms of tech solutions. So thank you so much, Yvette, for giving us an introduction, an overview of MS Viva. Now, if we can take a step back, since we're talking about tech solutions, and we go into addressing culture first. So, of course, we know that people and technology should go hand in hand in terms of considerations. And you also know that since I think Trustee Joanne mentioned earlier that we're also live in Facebook and in YouTube. And we've got this particular question from YouTube. The question is, what in the Filipino culture and way of working needs to change to adapt faster to this online world of work from home or tech-driven work?
I think one of the things that we need to revisit, no, is this Filipino mindset sometimes that the only way we're actually working is if we're working at the office, right? There's this notion sometimes that if you're not leaving home all dressed up, then there's this impression, are you really working, right? Sometimes I know a lot of people that are working from home that sometimes get judged by people by asking, is that really a job? I mean, is that even a full-time job, or is it more of a gig, right? So I think if there's one thing that has to change from a Filipino standpoint, it's really that we need to revisit the way we think about work, and the reality nowadays that the future is hybrid work, right? And the ability to work from anywhere. And work is not about where you are, but work is about what you deliver for yourself, for the organization, and for your community in general, wherever you are.
Got it. So it's about having a shift in mindset and having a change in perspective, and that will really make at least the in terms of our culture more adaptable, I'd say, to technology and such advances. And of course, one of the leaders in these advances would be Microsoft. So thank you once again, Yvette, and to your team for spending your afternoon, I'd say around, and that's a good 30 minutes of your afternoon here with us on People Manager Online's Anticipate This segment. Now, before we part ways, how can our viewers reach out to you should they have questions regarding Microsoft's tech solutions?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Lawrence. If you see my screen, let me know if you see it. Three things here. First, feel free to drop me a note anytime. So I've pretty much flashed my email address here, vet.watson@microsoft.com. If you're interested in that report I mentioned earlier, where I was quoting, some of the trends, so you definitely download that. It's available online for free, aka.ms/WTI all caps -2021 for our 2021 version. And finally, if you saw the demo on Microsoft Viva and it got you excited and you're interested to know more and interested to see the updates around it, right? Feel free to subscribe to the updates through this link, aka.ms/viva-ph.
Perfect.
And thank you
once
so
again.
much.
Oh, yep. The pleasure is ours. Thank you so much once again, Yvette, and the rest of the team at Microsoft Philippines. So again, I would also like to thank our viewers, especially the one who asked the question, Mr. Nad Pating in YouTube. So please keep on asking questions. We still have one segment left. And that wraps up our segment this afternoon. This has been your segment host, Lawrence Ko. Join us again next month for more exciting previews that get us to the edge of our seats and say, anticipate this. Back to you, Trusted Joanne.
Thank you so much, Yvette. I was so hooked in the discussion, the really very important issues, especially now that it appears working from home or a hybrid work setup is here to stay. So I love the features of the Viva, really very important data for leaders. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I was about to ask, where can we get the data, the report? Thank you for sharing. We'll also post the link of where we can access this index so that our audience would also be able to access these very critical, very important report. Thank you again, Yvette, and thank you also, Lawrence, for that very nice, very interesting conversation. All right, we are now at our last segment, Prick Your Heart, and we will talk about HR plantitas, and we will know a lot of tips in growing plants and crops at home. I welcome our segment host for our Prick Your Heart, the HR officer of Coco Gen Insurance, Sarah Tapel. Sarah?
A new lifestyle tip here on Perk Your Heart. My name is Sarah and I'm delighted to welcome on our show an HR plantita who will be sharing her interesting story. She is a passion project advocate, a homeschooling mom, the co-founder of Women Supporting Women Philippines, another project born out of the pandemic, and the chief executive igniter of People Ignite, JV Wong. Hi, JV. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone from the People Manager on Cam. I am super elated, excited to be here. I'm super proud of you because I know that People Manager on Cam is also born out of the pandemic.
Yes, we're excited to have you here, JV. And I heard that you have a passion project that revolves around plants. We want to know, have you always been a plantita, JV?
A lot of people think that I started my journey of plants during the pandemic, but just a trivia, I've been taking care of plants 4 years back. 4 years back.
Wow, all right.
But it only because of the pandemic that it surged. The interest of taking plants surged and the prices surged high as well.
Yeah, true. Can you share with us more about this passion project, JB?
Okay, I would love to share with you how it all started. I became a passion project advocate at the end of 2020, and I realized that the pandemic should never be seen as a curse, but it should be seen as a window of opportunities where we can grow. Hence, I became a passion project advocate. So, as a passion project advocate, typically I would remind everybody that, hey, marami ka nang ginagawa. There are so many roles that you are juggling and struggling with already. So you have to consider first all of the roles and responsibilities that you have. Here you will see that on the upper left, I take care of Women Supporting Women Philippines. And at the bottom left, I also was a charity athlete before the pandemic. Hopefully, after the pandemic, I can proceed with that again. On the lower right, I do work in People Ignite as a facilitator. On the upper right, I'm a homeschooling mom. And what we're going to talk about today is the one in the middle, which is I'm a W Botanica or a plant advocate. Yan. So, ang dami, Sarah.
Oo nga.
Ang daming roles,
Ang
right?
daming roles. Oo.
And zeroing in on the W Botanica story, it all started with ano bang pwede kong gawin dahil dumadami na yung mga halaman sa bahay namin. And so when we talk about the W Botanica story, it has to start from a purpose. And that purpose is we nurture nature one pot at a time. I was sharing with Sarah, yes, I was sharing with Sarah, you don't need an entire garden or an entire hacienda to say that you are a legit plantita or plantito. You know, honestly, just the fact that you have one potted plant and given to you by a friend, it is already starting your green journey. Okay, so let's talk about the green journey. And look at this picture. I started with one potted plant. And then we started counting our species. It became 20. And the highest count that I had is more than 100 species staying in our house. And because of that, we said, why not we put together W Botanica. If you have Instagram, kindly follow us on our green journey. We collect, we nurture, and we sell plants. In fact, some of our friends are saying, do you sell plants? Can I have some of your plants? So that's how it all started. And W Botanica is growing as I speak. And talking about growth, I feel very joyful when adoptive plant parents will come to me and say, happy ako dun sa plant na kinuha namin sa inyo, nag-acclimate siya, nag-adjust siya sa condo namin. So I'm just elated when I'm able to help others. Now, when you talk about helping, we started W Botanica December 2020. And by January 5, 2020, we realized we already released a total of 178 potted plants to
Wow.
different people. And
Mhm.
Sarah, I shared this with you ahead of time. Today, we must have released 1,700
Wow.
potted plants nationwide. And
Amazing,
so,
amazing.
yes, and I'm sharing with you that it all started with an interest of taking one pot of plant. Now, this is a beautiful story because the potted plants that you see, we are or delivering this to medical frontliners, and there's more than 1,000 lucky bamboo plants that we deliver to medical frontliners in partnership with a pharma company that I cannot mention right now. And so, from a single potted plant to a few species and to 1,000, never underestimate the power of your passion and interest. Yan si Sarah, mahilig siya mag-ukulele playing. So
Yes, that's a passion.
that's a passion, and it can
Passion.
turn into a passion project. So I'm just showing them, Sarah,
Mhm.
some of the species that I love.
Beautiful, beautiful flowers. I think I know the bottom most left plant.
The bottom left, right?
Yeah.
Sige. So, well, pag-usapan natin tong mga
Sure.
favorite species ko, right? So,
Mhm.
the one on the upper left is actually a Calathea doti prayer plant. And
Mhm.
sabi nga ni Sarah, may mga prayer plants. Yes. And Sarah, there are collectors of prayer plants, and they're considered prayer plants because at night their leaves go up as if praying, and in the morning their leaves go down. Galing, no?
Ah, ganda.
So the one in the middle here is Oxalis triangularis, or we call
Mhm.
them butterfly plants. Parang lumilipad.
Mukha nga, yes.
The one on the
Mm.
upper right is Caladium Heart of Jesus, one of my favorite species. Sobrang nice, right? But
Mhm.
this is an outdoor plant. The need of
Okay.
an indoor plant is different, a bit different
Mhm.
from the need of an outdoor plant.
Mhm.
Now, the one on the bottom right is a fiddle fig tree, which is a
Mhm.
darling on Instagram.
Yes.
And the one here in the middle bottom, is another prayer plant called Calathea peacock. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Sarah, you said you know this plant on the lower left. Would you like to
Yes.
guess it?
It's a monstera. Yay!
Yay! Now, take note, there are many subspecies of Monstera, and
Okay.
this is
Mhm.
what you call the Monstera deliciosa. You know, Sarah,
Mhm.
before the pandemic, this exact plant, you can get
Mhm.
this for about 800 to 1,000, no?
Mhm.
But today, Monstera deliciosas, especially with the holes within the leaves, will range
Mhm.
from 3,500 to even 9,000 pesos. Yeah.
Wow, that's expensive.
Nag-surge talaga yung prices ng plants
Mm-mm.
during the
Mm-mm.
pandemic. Yep. And
Mhm.
there go some of my favorite species.
Oh, how do you take care of your plants, JV? Do you have any tips and techniques for our startup plantitos and plantitos out there?
All right. Thanks. I like that question.
Mm.
Number one, throw the mindset that you have a black thumb. Okay? I
Mhm.
thought I had one, and I was wrong. Every
Mhm.
person can take care of a plant. And if they die, life cycle, and then you learn from that process, right?
Mm.
And then the second one is general principle. If the leaves are drying on the edges, you might be underwatering them. But if the leaves are entirely yellowing, then you are overwatering them or lacking in sun. Now,
Mhm.
last is TLC, or tender loving care.
Mm-mm.
Never overwater, never underwater, but just give them the right kind of care. That's it.
I like the TLC. Hindi lang sa tao, syempre pati sa plants din. And animals, of course. 'Di ba, JV?
Yep, you're right.
Thank you so much for sharing this passion project of yours. Truly inspiring and empowering. Do you have any message for our viewers who would like to start a passion project themselves?
All right. There are three important elements and one non negotiable on starting anything. The first one is find where you're passionate about. Number two, never underestimate preparation and thorough planning. Number three is kailangan masipag ka. Tinuro yan ng nanay at tatay ko.
Yes.
At kapag masipag ka, you will flourish. But take note, the most important non-negotiable is with whatever you do, you should know your mission. And my personal mission in anything that I do is to help others smile today. Remember, that is your non-negotiable. That's it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Again, thank you so much, JB. And this has been Sarah Tapel. And back to you, Joanne.
Thank you so much, JV. I appreciate the encouragement because I just can't seem to, take care of my plants well. But I love the encouragement that we can all take care of it. But most importantly, I love the reminder on the non-negotiable, the passion. I guess we all have to ask, why are we doing? What are we doing? Thank you again, JV, for that very lovely sharing of your plans. Thank you, everyone, for watching our show. I loved our topics for this March episode. We heard about COPA and their advocacy on our labor code. We also, of course, thank you, Harry Morris from the HEO Resources Executive Marine and Freshwater Biologist, who talked about sustainable recovery in the Philippines. Yvette Watson from Microsoft Philippines. Super great ideas. I wish we can talk to you again. And for those who are watching and would love to download that index, which I would do check out that data. Very important for us to know. And of course, JV, for our HR plantitas, thank you so much for the tips on how to take care of plants at home. My key takeaway from our today's episode, from the labor code to sustainable recovery to making sure that we are able to take care of our employees during this time, we need accountable leaders who will push for adoptive policies, laws, and make sure that we also have the right mindset. Leadership in the government sector and in the private sector matters more today more than ever. Those are my key takeaways listening to our guest. Thank you so much, Microsoft Philippines, our partner for today's episode. And I'm inviting you all. So can we share our April calendar for our April edition? I'm inviting you all to our April edition where we will talk about spirituality in the workplace. We will talk about spirituality and religiosity at work. We are open to sponsors for our April episode. Please email Maki at maki.cordero@pmap.org.ph for sponsorship details. For those interested to join People Management Association of the Philippines, the premier organization of HR leaders in the country, contact Rhea. Her email address has been showing to you all throughout the show. Feel free to ask her on how you can join People Management Association of the Philippines. And of course, we are inviting you to our annual conference happening in July. For details, watch for the videos right after our show. So let us welcome back our host for today. All right. So that was quite an insightful, very heavy, but very serious topics. Anyone who would like to share what were your insights about our today's discussion?
For me, it is always innovate or die.
I like that, Jackie. Anyone else? Lawrence?
Go ahead. One.
Yes.
That's the non-negotiable from JV, which is the purpose or our why.
Right. Very good reminder. Lawrence?
For me, I think about the thoughtful integration of technology with core HR processes. And it's definitely one of the key factors towards delivering great employee experience.
Very true. Very true. How about you, Roland?
Yeah, for me, it's all about the sustainable programs that we have to implement in our organization so that if there are concerns like the pandemic that we are facing right now, our organizations would still be able to thrive and, of course, provide services, not just in our organization, but to the community as well.
Thank you so much. Very good insights and very good reminders for all of our listeners this afternoon. Thank you so much, Jackie, Roland, Lawrence, and Sarah, all volunteers of different committees here in PMAP, and also, of course, coming from different parts of the country. My name is Joanne. I'm your host for this month's episode of People Manager on Camp. We hope that this episode was very helpful, especially to those of you who have watched. Do share it. If you find this very insightful, do share it so that your friends would also be able to learn from our speaker experience from our guests. Thank you to our viewers and listeners, sponsors, and of course to PMAP. Don't leave yet. Stay on and watch the videos of our invitations. Stay safe, everyone, until our next episode. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
How do we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more?
It starts with one.
One employee.
One developer.
One organization.
From one employee to a team collaborating with another team.
From one organization to their customers, to their customers' customers.
Helping local communities, creating jobs, increasing productivity for the global economy.
Our society.
Our world.
That's the impact.
That's the impact.
That's the impact each of us can have.
That's our opportunity.
100,000 plus employees.
75 million organizations.
7 billion people on the planet.
100 to 75 to 7.
To make every small business more productive.
To make every large business more competitive.
To make nonprofits more effective.
To make government institutions more responsive.
To expand access to education.
To improve healthcare outcomes. And to amplify human ingenuity.
When we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, we empower the world.
I know you know. You've seen it, experienced it, affected by it. Of course, it's hard. But this is an invitation to change it, to bounce back, to feel the inspiration. Masyado ka nang apektado para tumigil pa. Ngayon, oras na para sa mas mataas na antas ng pagbabalik at pagbabago. The hashtag Business Better Than Usual. Oo naman, aangat ka, aangat tayo. Buong Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao, kaisa sa pagbangon at pagbabago. The 58th PMAP Annual Conference. Angat, leading people to higher ground. Be the soul of change. Be the driver of encouragement. Be the fuel of moving forward. Angat, leading people to higher ground. The 58th PMAP Annual Conference. Dahil mas personal na ang trabaho ngayon.
How do we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more?
It starts with one.
One employee.
One developer.
One organization.
From one employee to a team collaborating with another team.
From one organization to their customers, to their customers' customers.
Helping local communities, creating jobs, increasing productivity for the global economy.
Our society.
Our world.
That's the impact.
That's the impact.
That's the impact each of us can have.
That's our opportunity.
100,000 plus employees.
75 million organizations.
7 billion people on the planet.
100 to 75 to 7.
To make every small business more productive.
To make every large business more competitive.
To make nonprofits more effective.
To make government institutions more responsive.
To expand access to education.
To improve healthcare outcomes. And to amplify human ingenuity.
When we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, we empower the world.